Next on Sisterhood of the Second Act.
Dr. Alicia Hollis strives to treat the underlying problems of her patients, not just the symptoms. Today, she is going to explain how functional and integrative medicine can get to the root of medical issues. Pam Irvine has worked with Feeding Southwest Virginia for more than 4 decades. It's Feeding Southwest Virginia's mission to nourish neighbors, engage community partners, and develop solutions to address food insecurity that keeps her on the job. We'll meet these women on this edition of Sisterhood of the Second Act, right after this.
Sisterhood of the Second Act is brought to you by Cabby Fashions take you from the boardroom to the beach. Dress for a garden party or a night on the town. Independent Cabby stylist Darlene Marshall will make sure you look your best no matter what the occasion. She'll bring the store to your home for you and your friends or schedule a private consultation. Call Darlene 540-330-6819, 540-330-6819, or find her on Instagram at Dapper Darling, on Facebook at Darlene Marshall Independent Cabby Stylist. Pat Lucas is committed to providing independent financial advice to help women build wealth and security. Call Pat at 540-798-8104, 540-798-8104. Securities and investment advisory services are offered solely through Equity Services Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC, 4401 Starkey Road, Roanoke, Virginia 24018, 540-989-4600.
I'm going to be an oak tree.
I think I'll be a dogwood tree.
My kids say they be looking for a thorny tree for me.
With Evergreen, you can be a tree. Our biodegradable urn combines your ashes, natural soil additives, and a native tree of your choice. Be a tree and grow for tomorrow.
I want to be a tree.
Learn more at evergreenmemorialtrust.com.
Looking for your first home or retirement home? Realtor Monica Nicely can help you find it. Whether you're moving in or out of the Roanoke region, call Monica 540-449-2019, 540-449-2019. Alcova Mortgage Loan Officer Jonathan Sweat helps you seal the deal with the loan to suit your needs with great rates and terms. Call Jonathan 540-314-8843, 540-314-8843.
Alcova Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID number 40508, MLSConsumerAccess.org. Terms and conditions apply. All loans subject to credit approval.
Now from the Fox Radio Roanoke studio, here's Kathy Heberle.
Welcome to Sisterhood of the Second Act. I'm Kathy Heberle. Dr. Alicia Hollis is board certified in internal medicine by the American Board of Internal Medicine and the American College of Osteopathic Internists. After practicing general internal medicine for a number of years, she began training in integrative and functional medicine with the American Academy of Anti-Aging and Regenerative Medicine, as well as the Institute for Functional Medicine. Dr. Hollis is board certified by the American Academy of Anti-Aging and Regenerative Medicine. That is a mouthful. You've got so many degrees. Welcome to our show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. I can't wait to do an interview with you today.
So fun.
Well, let's start with some definitions. What is functional and integrative medicine, for our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So functional and integrative medicine is looking at the different layers of a person and trying to figure out like root cause effects. So if someone comes to you and they've been chronically fatigued for a very long time, we take a very deep dive in their medical history to try and figure out what might have been a root cause effect. And we go very deep into the layers of their health, and we look for, imbalances in their health and try and, figure out what created the disease in the first place, right? Because if one thing can create a disease in the first place and we don't get rid of it, then it can create a disease in a second place. So it's just kind of like uncovering the layers.
Okay.
And
it's
looking
like the whole puzzle and all the little
puzzle.
pieces that go together.
Exactly. And looking at the person and the whole environment and what were their toxic exposures, right?
Sure.
Like what kind of environment were they in? Were they in a moldy environment? Were they, working with heavy metals? And they may have some kind of toxic exposure history.
Chemicals, anything,
exactly,
right?
Leading to inflammation, leading to brain fog, leading to fatigue. So kind of taking a deep dive and looking at the individual person in the individual environment, and it's really personalized medicine, really doing the deep dive. And then, the integrative approach just means having different modalities, right?
Okay.
Like incorporating supplements and incorporating herbal medicine, not just doing drugs. Now, sometimes we do medicine,
of course,
if that's needed, but really trying
sounds like you have a lot of options that
exactly.
you can, a lot of resources for
exactly.
to fall back on.
And looking for kind of natural treatment options.
Excellent. I think a lot of our audience would be very interested in learning about this. And why did you decide to pursue these two modalities after practicing internal medicine?
Sure, absolutely. I've always been interested in the whole person and the whole individual. I'm the daughter of a MD and I'm the daughter of a holistic nurse. And so growing up, this was just all I ever wanted to do. And I could see how, doing regular medicine, we're just kind of limited in the time scope that we have. We have just a short amount of time, in the insurance model, and it's fine. It's just the way it is. But I knew that I wanted to do more training in really knowing all of the different layers with folks, and then having more time to spend with my patients to really do that deep dive on their health.
That is so encouraging to me to know that we have options these days.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
We are talking with Dr. Alicia Hollis about integrative and functional medicine. And someone comes to you for a consult, so what happens? How long does the appointment take?
Sure. So typically before they come in, they have to fill out all of my forms, which are pretty extensive. But, we really go back and I ask them, I said, when was the last time that you felt good? When was the last time you felt really good? And, some people will tell me 30 years. So, they fill out all my forms. And where did you live? Were you in a moldy house? What kind of jobs did you have? What kind of stressors do you have in your life? What is your support system? What is your sleep like? Do you feel restored? I have lots of forms. My patients will tell me sometimes it takes them a couple of hours to fill out all of those forms, but they go ahead and they do that ahead of time.
Okay.
And they fill out their symptom list and, what medications and supplements they've tried. And then they fill out, what things they've tried for different things already and what worked and what didn't. So before I even see them, I go over all of these forms.
So you have a good history from them to start with.
Exactly.
And
so
that sounds like you are prepared when you meet them.
Absolutely.
To go, right?
Yes. So I have all of that cooking in my brain when I go in and meet them. And then we spend about, a good hour, typically 75 minutes together, just really focusing in on, what are your main concerns, and we dive into all of it.
Okay. Is there a physical included?
Absolutely.
As part of this initial one?
Absolutely.
So you look at their eyes. And
I examine everything. Look at their hair and their skin.
Are they prepared for that? Do they know they're going to get an extensive physical as well? As part of this?
So, I examine everybody. Yes. We don't do like pap smears and things like that in the office.
They can expect a really comprehensive exam.
I love this. Because the skin, the skin shows the gut health and the skin shows it,
Yes.
Absolutely. And we can see if the hair is thinning, and we can, we can look at the nail health. We can do all sorts of things.
I think this is the approach that should be taken more often. Why do you need to get such a detailed history of someone's life? I think you mentioned, have they been exposed to mold? What kind of maybe work environment is that's all part that will go into your diagnosis?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, it goes into my workup.
Into your workup.
It goes into my workup, right? Of what could be causing the problem, right? And then, if people will say, hey, my fatigue started in 2005.
Okay.
And we go back and we say, okay, well, what was happening then? Okay. Oh, I was having so much stress in my life with my mother, or this was happening, and
that helps give you a bigger picture.
Or hey, I had a tick bite.
Oh.
Yeah. Or
absolutely.
Exactly.
So what types of conditions do you treat?
All sorts
of
things.
Okay.
So, menopause-related concerns, hormones, thyroid. I look at autoimmune in a little bit of a different way, and fatigue, chronic fatigue. What I love about this approach is that most people can benefit no matter what their health concern in some degree, right? Because looking at the layers and improving the terrain of the body
Right.
helps so many different things, right?
Right.
So
You're putting them back in balance, it sounds like.
exactly. So when we have a healthy terrain, when we have a healthy immune system, when we have optimal digestion, when we're, humming along, when all of the systems are working optimally, it helps so many different things. And so many times people will tell me, that pain that I was just having under my rib cage for years that no one could figure out, it just went away. And it's like, we weren't even trying to do that. It's just by optimizing all the systems of the body, everything just functions better.
That makes sense. And all of a sudden they say, hey, I don't have my insomnia anymore.
That's exactly right.
I mean, that's
exactly
they weren't even
right.
thinking of it, but it's a side effect of being better.
Exactly right.
I love this.
So toxins are very excitatory, right? So they can cause insomnia. So a lot of times when we do like a little bit of a detox with folks, they're like, oh my God, I'm sleeping better. My restless leg is better. I'm not grinding my teeth as much. Yes. So it's all of those things because they can excite the nervous system, right? Absolutely. So by looking at, and everybody needs, our world is toxic, right? So everybody can benefit from a little bit.
I've heard that even like your car seats are toxic.
Right, and our mattresses, right, and our clothes.
So that makes a lot of sense.
And the foods we eat. There's arsenic in rice. Right?
Yeah,
there's arsenic in non-organic chicken. It just is what it is. That's right. We're not going to not eat those things, but just being aware
will help.
Exactly.
So we are talking with Dr. Alicia Hollis about integrative and functional medicine, and it's fascinating. So when you develop a comprehensive treatment plan for someone, how is it different from a treatment plan you would prescribe as an internist?
Oh, great question. So very different, actually. So, so for, let's just say someone comes in with like IBS, right? We might give them an anti-diarrhea supplement or an antispasm. Absolutely, they'd get a colonoscopy. They get worked up and all that stuff. But if they're still having symptoms after, a good workup, right, then, and we've ruled out the bad things, right? We always have to rule out. That's why I did my internal medicine training. I wanted to make sure I knew everything, right? So we could rule out the bad things and make sure, we left no stone unturned, right? So let's say someone comes to me with irritable bowel syndrome and they've been worked up and it's just, they call it IBS, right? So normally we would give them like an antispasmodic, or we would give them just some fiber, or, if they were having diarrhea, we'd give them some Imodium or some drug like that, right? But for, in integrative medicine, I would do a whole comprehensive stool test, right? So I would look at the functioning of the gut. I would look at, how is your food digesting? Do you have an inflamed gut? Do you have parasites in the gut? Do you have yeast in the gut? Do you have overgrown gut bugs that are causing some imbalances that are causing gas and bloating, right? So we look at the whole stool analysis, and then I can, not prescribe, but recommend botanicals to help with that, and, herbal supplements for yeast and things like that. So we can do, we can fix the thing.
That's right.
If an overgrowth of yeast is causing the problem and we fix that, then it's fixed.
That's wonderful.
Right? And so you're not covering up a symptom.
I love this. And I could talk to you all day, but we have to wrap it up. So what do you find most satisfying about treating patients with functional and integrative medicine?
Oh, goodness, all of it. I just love helping people. And I love it when people are like, someone finally listened to me, and took the time.
I finally feel better.
Yeah. And then they come back and they're like, you know what? I feel better. I feel great. I wake up and I can do the things I want to do, and it's just so rewarding, and it makes my heart happy. When they say thank you, and I'm like, no, I'm just so happy for you. I'm so happy that you feel better. Yeah, and you feel genuinely better, right? Like to the core better, and they know how to stay better, right? They know that they learn the things they need to do to stay better with their health, right? They learn the foods that they should be eating.
And they're more invested in doing it because they're seeing results.
Exactly.
I love it.
And they have to keep it up, right? They can't just go back to eating sugar and, drinking sodas and doing the things that got them into trouble in the first place,
But they have a plan.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for joining us today. This was such a fun interview. I really enjoyed it. We'll have Dr. Hollis's contact information in our show notes on our website at sisterhoodofthesecond.com. There's more Sisterhood of the Second Act ahead. we meet a woman who has been feeding Southwest Virginia for more than 40 years, what you can do to help, and where to go if you need help. After this.
Looking for your first home or retirement home? Realtor Monica Nicely can help you find it. Whether you're moving in or out of the Roanoke region, call Monica 540-449-2019, 540-449-2019. Alcova Mortgage Loan Officer Jonathan Sweat helps you seal the deal with the loan to suit your needs with great rates and terms. Call Jonathan 540-314-8843, 540-314-8843.
Alcova Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID number 40508, MLSConsumerAccess.org. Terms and conditions apply. All loans subject to credit approval.
Pat Lucas is committed to providing independent financial advice to individuals, families, and small businesses. Contact Pat at 540-798-8104, 540-798-8104. Securities and investment advisory services are offered solely through Equity Services Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC, 4401 Starkey Road, Roanoke, Virginia 24018, 540-989-4600.
I'm gonna be an oak tree.
I think I'll be a dogwood tree.
My kids say they be looking for a thorny tree for me.
With Evergreen, you can be a tree. Our biodegradable urn combines your ashes, natural soil additives, and a native tree of your choice. Be a tree and grow for tomorrow.
I want to be a tree.
Learn more at evergreenmemorialtrust.com.
Once again from the Fox Radio Roanoke studio, here's Kathy Heberle.
Welcome back to Sisterhood of the Second Act. I'm Kathy Heberle. Pam Irvine has worked with Feeding Southwest Virginia for 41 years. As president and CEO, she has been on the front lines helping to provide food to people in need. She joins us today to talk about Feeding Southwest Virginia, how you can help, and what to do if you need help. Thank you for being with us today, Pam.
Thank you, Kathy. It's good to be here.
Very good. So, 41 years is almost unheard of in this day and age. Why have you stayed with Feeding Southwest Virginia for so long?
I'm still passionate about the work that we do and the great people that we work with. Our board is great, our staff, our volunteers, and the generosity of those corporations and individuals that sow into our work.
That's really nice to know. And how did you end up at Feeding Southwest Virginia? Give us a little history.
I was doing food stamp, back then called food stamps, now SNAP, advocacy for clients and handling an emergency food pantry in Covington. And so I knew personally and then professionally what it was like for people to struggle with food. And then I went to a meeting in Norfolk and they were organizing their food bank down there. And I thought, what a great opportunity to bring that to Southwest Virginia.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad you did. So what does Feeding Southwest Virginia do, and how large of an area do you serve?
Well, we serve 26 counties in Southwest Virginia. Unfortunately, the highest percentage of food insecurity in the state and with poverty. And we distribute food to other nonprofits that feed the ill, elderly, children, or disadvantaged. And we have direct service programs as well. So we distribute about $34 million worth of food a year through 300 and some partners.
My goodness, that is a lot of territory, even to just manage, isn't it?
It is. Yes.
Yes. So we are talking with Pam Irvine, President and CEO of Feeding Southwest Virginia. So the pandemic really highlighted food insecurity and that it can happen to almost anybody. How did the increase in need change what you do at Feeding Southwest Virginia?
Well, overnight we had to think about how do we distribute food and keep our employees and our volunteers and our clients and our neighbors safe. So immediately we had to think about deployment of pop-up distributions, we call them. We have experience with those distributions in far Southwest Virginia in 12 communities, where we take 10,000 pounds of food once a month to 12 communities and distribute the food right off the truck.
Okay.
And so we had no-touch distributions.
So that worked out well, and you were able to draw on that experience.
Yes.
Just to keep going and implementing it on a wider scale. That sounds wonderful. And then has the need decreased since we have opened back up?
It initially decreased, and that's because of the resources. Still, there was COVID funding, right? Stimulus and additional funding for families and for children, you know, for extra meals during the summer. And now that that is expiring, we're seeing the need to spike because unemployment's still high in some of our service areas, and people have needs with less resources.
Absolutely. How many people in Virginia are facing food insecurity?
Well, right now, the percentage of food insecure individuals in Virginia is actually 9.4%.
Is it really?
But for us, it's over 12%.
And why is that?
Because we serve the income challenged communities in textile, furniture, tobacco, and coal mining communities, and all that industry has shut down, and so those individuals are more
certainly has spiked the need, right?
Yes,
I can understand that. So how do people need access to food Feeding Southwest Virginia collects?
Well, we do that through a number of ways. Through our partner programs we talked about before, emergency food pantries and other feeding programs. Then we have direct programs. We directly provide food to individuals. Then we have our children's feeding programs, like our Cafe to Grow is a foodie truck for children here in Roanoke City that provides fresh meals to children throughout the city.
To the schools or just to
after school programs?
After school
during
programs.
the summer, but we partner with all the libraries in Roanoke City, and we actually roll into the libraries and provide the meals there as well, and directly into some of the low-income communities.
That's wonderful. What a great idea. Are rising food and gas prices impacting donations and the need for food?
They are. Logistics is very challenging right now, and our fuel has went up 56% because we have tractor trailers and a fleet of trucks, and that diesel cost has went up tremendously. Everything has went up. So, you know, getting the food in, so it costs more to get the food delivered to our 2 distribution centers than it costs more to get it out through our system.
Absolutely. And even for people who want to donate, to go out and buy more, you know, they get less for their dollars, so I can understand that. We are talking with Pam Irvine, President and CEO of Feeding Southwest Virginia. So food deserts, is that correct? Food deserts exist in cities and rural communities. I hear you have a project that helps people in rural communities, a mobile grocery store. So tell us about that.
It's one of the things we launched during the pandemic. There was funding available, and so we thought, okay, so we know we have communities where people drive at a distance to get food, you know, on a consistent basis. And we launched 2 mobile units, mobile grocery stores, one for Southwest Virginia and one out of our Salem distribution center, and it goes to 26 sites now, and fresh fruits and vegetables and other items. And individuals, we partner with either the donated food through our partner agencies or our own direct service where people get free food, then they can purchase food. So that cuts down on the transportation costs and the challenges going to multiple locations.
I love that. It's a new dimension to food trucks. When you hear, you know, instead of prepared meals, they actually get to choose and pick fresh food. And I think that's such a wonderful idea. So in what other ways is Feeding Southwest Virginia working to carry out its mission, and what does the future hold?
Well, that's an interesting question that you asked, because we just completed our strategic planning process.
Oh, share.
And so we have medically tailored food, working with healthcare partners who know that, you know, that food is a challenge, and a lot of the social determinants of health have to do with their food, equity of food, and the types of food that people consume or can't afford. Right. So we're working with healthcare partners, and that's some new work that we've been doing recently. And we're also looking to expand mobile grocery stores and then our children's feeding programs.
Well, that sounds really good. It just made me think of a side question as far as when you say, like, because we can think of people that have certain diabetics or something. But do you do anything to help educate people so that they don't end up at the fast food places because it is cheaper? Is there any kind of program to help them understand that it's nutritional?
For most of our history, at least 30 years of our history, we partnered with Virginia Cooperative Extension to do nutrition education early on.
Wonderful.
And so we partnered with them in so many years, and now we're doing nutrition education with Corellian and other healthcare partners as well.
Fantastic. Yes. I think that's it's a vital component to what you're doing. I'm so pleased to hear that. So as we wrap up, in what ways can our listeners and viewers help?
Well, number one is just hearing this story, right?
Yes.
And then it's also, we think of educate, engage, and empower. And so engage in our work through volunteering, financial contributions, we live off the generosity of others, or food donations. Right. And so they can visit our website at www.feedingswva.org or call us at 540-342-3011, and there's a way that you can help us, any individual, even children.
And do you have places that people, when they're grocery shopping, can just drop these foods off, just maybe purchase an extra bag on a regular basis? Are you open all the time?
We are open Monday through Friday.
Okay.
At our distribution centers, one here in Salem and one in Abington.
Okay.
But we have a box outside of our Salem distribution center. It's called our food box.
Okay.
And so they can donate their food there 24/7.
So that would be non-perishable type foods that you would accept there. Mm-hmm. And then were you part of the mail drive that we had recently?
We collected over 100,000 pounds of food.
And that's an annual event, or?
It is. 2 years we were, of course, of COVID. We didn't, so we were back on again this year.
So we're back on schedule now.
So thank you for your donation.
You're very welcome. Yes. It's such a delight. So Pam, recently you told me about a peanut butter recall. I'm sure over the years there's been other ones. Tell us about that, how you handle it, and what people can do about that.
Well, thank you for asking that, because we are inspected by the FDA. They show up in our facilities and they want to know, what did you do with that peanut butter that was recalled? So first and foremost, we have to pull it out of our inventory. And then the letter carries food drive, right? That 100,000 pounds is sitting in big bins, and we have to go through, we use volunteers, go through and sort through all the food and pull out all the peanut butter. Then we have to call our partner agencies that got the peanut butter, and we have to ask them to pull it from their shelves. And so we have a way to audit the product. It goes through our system electronically, and we have a way to recall anything and everything we have to, according to FDA.
I understand. That's a very good system, and it feels, I think that gives the people a lot of peace of mind. So thank you so much for joining us today, Pam. It's been a pleasure having you on our show.
Thank you, Kathy. I've enjoyed it.
I'm so glad that you came to give us some of this information. And I guess for now we'll just wrap it up, and we will say that we will have Feeding Southwest Virginia's contact information in today's show notes at sisterhoodofthesecond-act.com. And we'll be back to wrap up the show after this.
Kathy's wardrobe provided by Cabby stylist Darlene Marshall. See the styles in our show notes at sisterhoodofthesecond-act.com.
I want to thank Dr. Alicia Hollis and Pam Irvine for being with us today. Dr. Hollis taught us about integrative and functional medicine, and Pam explained the mission of the Feeding Southwest Virginia program and how we can help. I'm Kathy Heberle. Join us next week for another edition of Sisterhood of the Second Act.